Pots are swirling. They're hot around the Montreal Canadiens right now, Jesse, and a lot of it has to do with the goaltending situation. As you can see, Jakub Dobeš whispering in Monty's ear. Who knows? Maybe he's there ready to take the spot. We got to get into what a lot of Habs insiders have been saying about the situation. And even in the postgame, Marty was not happy, but this game was not as far apart as Leafs fans will have you believe, as the Montreal Canadiens actually played quite a solid game for most of it. Yes, there were some bad parts. I know you're probably already writing your angry comment, but we got a Kirby goal. We got a Patrick Laine power play goal. Feels like a daily occurrence at this point. We even got a Leaf killer Josh Anderson moment. There is a lot to get into, positive, negative, and some implications going forward, especially in the goalie situation, coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, let's dive right into it, and I want to start with the box score. Feel free to pause, as always, have a look through. But Jesse, there's a lot of positives to glean from this. Where do your eyes go first? Because my eyes, honestly, they probably start with Dach, Laine, and that amazing second line that we have right now.
Yeah, Dach and Laine starting off strong in that first period. Nice to see Kirby Dach, that confidence really growing. Patrick Laine as well. Like, you just had a feeling, I think all Habs fans, once we got that 4-minute power play. I'll also group Juraj Slafkovsky in that category as well. He was looking good in this game, had a solid chance to be able to score. Like, we had that good first period, but we just weren't quite able to really kind of build off there, because there was some amazing things at first. The Leafs had 0 high-scoring chances in that first period against. But again, a little bit of a younger team where, we had that chance to tie it up at 4 with Slav. Anyway, the puck ends up going the other way, ends up becoming 5-3, kind of the difference maker. But again, kind of the penalties was the big thing where, Josh, we've been able to go through a big sequence of games out, like 20 games where we're winning for the large part, but still taking penalties. But this was one that really kind of hurt us tonight, right? We started kind of chasing the game, not getting away from kind of getting the pucks in deep and kind of forechecking, where we see when the Habs do this game in and game out, they really have success doing that.
Yeah, for sure. But the penalty, like the forecheck has been good. By the way, how much has Emil Heineman missed, hey? Like, you notice that he's not there, especially considering... Yeah. Do you have any idea why no one's been called up from Laval? Sort of a rhetorical question. I don't expect a legit... I don't know. Maybe some people in the comments have something to say, but with Michael Pezzetta playing under 3 minutes, he's been under 5 minutes almost every single game. Why has someone like Joshua Watt not been called up? Or at least someone who gives energy and forechecks. Even a Condata, who got an assist tonight, by the way. Laval lost as well, whatever. But the penalties have been a big issue, Jesse, right now. As you can see, Montreal's the 3rd most penalized team in the NHL. This average, I think, goes up after tonight, because I think they took more than 4 penalties. So it's been bad. The only teams worse than them are the Bruins and Panthers. And yeah, the Panthers are great, but the Habs are right there with the Bruins. They're at 22-19-4, and it's like, those penalties are costing the team a lot. Yeah, penalties cost the Leafs too, and yes, there were some soft calls tonight. But also, Montreal was putting themselves in a position to be penalized sometimes. There were some rough times because they were getting beat, and a couple of those penalties tonight, Jesse, were them trying to make up for being beat. Look, I'm not saying that's like the only reason, but again, I do kind of chalk this up to being a young team as well. And one thing I wanted to mention, it's a nice transition. We'll talk about the goalies in a bit, I promise, because that's a big thing. Marty St. Louis, like, this is something he said earlier in the year, and it's something we heard on the broadcast tonight, not directly from him, but from the announcers. This is the season where Montreal learns how to win, right? You take these losses, that's going to be like a blood stain that you're going to look at, and you're going to be like a reminder where we came from down in the future. Because again, this doesn't mean much, the deserve to win a meter, but Montreal had a lot of high danger scoring chances. They were playing very well for a lot of the game. Joseph Woll played a great game, not going to deny it, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But again, this game was closer than it seemed, Jesse, and this to me really screams one of those games where you learn how to win in the future. You take these on the chest and you move on.
For sure, and it tells you to be aggressive when the iron's hot, that you really got to strike, because the Montreal Canadiens very well could have gotten more than 3 goals in that first period. I think that obviously they did do a good job of, Anderson being a part of that as well, of looking to really capitalize and be aggressive on the chances, shooting kind of on that 2-on-1 opportunity there. But like, it very much could have been a bigger lead going into that second period there. So I think a big thing is that with the Habs tonight is, really knowing not to kind of shoot themselves in the foot, because they're playing the game the right way for a good stretch of time now. We just see it's really the penalties right now, and I think that really changes the complexion of this game.
It does, but I think you also made a good point. Like, the team, like, it did feel like, at least for part of that the second period was a bit rough. They kind of took their foot off the gas a bit, and you could feel it, right? When the Leafs got that first goal, it started to feel like I'm not saying they're going to revert back to the early season Habs. That's not what's going to happen here. This team looks very different. It feels very different on ice. But you started to see that thing that we had seen before, where it's like they started for a little bit, not like for a lot of the third, like they were fine in terms of playing, but for a bit they started to play not to lose as opposed to just playing their game, right? And you started to see it a bit. They're a little more timid. Not everyone, of course. That's a very general thing I just said, but you could feel that momentum swinging. And that's the thing. Even like Brianna Amherst and a lot of other people were saying something like this. You take your foot off the gas all in the first period, you pay the price. It's a lesson in reality check, even though the team's been playing well. It's very true. But against these top tier teams, Montreal's been playing great against these other teams recently. But this was the first time that one of those other teams really came back and they scored a few quick goals off of some mistakes, really punished Montreal for the maybe more than average mistakes or penalties they made this game. But Jesse, I think again, this is just something you learn from and go forward because look, you look at this game, hey, we took our foot off the gas a bit, we paid the price. That's something we can't do again. And I think their stamina and their mental fortitude is something we've seen over the past while. And I really think we're going to see it again in the coming few games.
And I have been so impressed with the confidence that the Habs have been playing with. And again, we saw that in the first period. We were saying, okay, this is kind of par for course with the Montreal Canadiens that we're kind of expecting right now. And the thing about playing with confidence, this as Kirby Dach, is you're making decisions so much quicker on the ice. You don't have that processing time. You know where you want to go with it. And that's obviously where the Montreal Canadiens are playing the best, playing with pace, not playing D to D too much, kind of working as a full man unit to be able to get that puck in deep because we're seeing they're creating so much on the forecheck. Even in this game, when they were doing that, they're successful. The Leafs, you can exploit them defensively. They're coughing up pucks and you can score. So I really this is a tough one tonight. But I know the Habs are going to be looking forward to playing them next time to really right some of these errors because after, you're starting to play well, you get a little bit of pride, right? So this one is going to hurt for the Habs right now, but I think going in the future with them, getting those pucks in deep, knowing that D is susceptible to kind of turning over is really the strategy that the Habs will need to implement over a course of 60 minutes to get that W next time.
For sure, the 60 minutes thing's a big thing, and it's something they struggled with earlier in the season. Hasn't been something they struggled with recently, but they had an off game. It is what it is, right? They go right back at it tomorrow. They can right the ship against the Rangers. I want to give a shout out to Laine Hutson as well as he extends his point streak. Not very many people ever, and especially not rookie defensemen, have had multiple 7-game point streaks in the season, so unbelievable stuff. Yeah, look, this is just fancy plus minus. I know people take these like they're the most important thing in the world. It's just fancy plus minus. That's why you see Guhle and Carrier at the top. I wanted to give a shout out there too, Jesse. Guhle and Carrier both being positive, +1 and +2 for Cayden Guhle is absolutely nuts in a 7-3 loss. And any quick words on those guys? I'm tempted to give them both the Mitchell Stevens Player of the Game award. There was a lot of good players. I thought Laine had a decent game. I thought Dach played well. But honestly, Guhle Carrier for them both being positive, I don't know. I'm tempted to share it. Maybe even Guhle himself. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Just in the pairing in general, I like that idea. But yeah, obviously, and they are that defensive pairing for the Montreal Canadiens. That is what Martin St. Louis expects them to be. And that's what we're doing. Carrier, even himself, had a really good opportunity to get on the scoreboard. I think he might have a little bit more offense as this team kind of continues to grow and Guhle continues coming into his own even more. That might help Carrier in that aspect as well. But obviously, yeah, they were holding it down tonight.
They were great. Laine had a great game too, I thought, overall. So anyway, that's that. But I want to get on to the thing that people are talking a lot about, Jesse. And you've been looking at Monty's stats here when it's been on the page, and there's a lot of people who are not very happy with the performance. I mean, this is just a small screenshot of 3 tweets on my timeline from Malc Dumont, Mike Vini, and Stu Cowan. 3 people you've probably seen on your timeline. 3 people you've probably read their stuff. You probably know who they are. Dumont was saying, yeah, Dobeš takes over if he has another dominant game. All the respect in the world to Monty, but we're talking about a potential playoff berth and a hot goalie you can't ignore. Mike Vini says, put Dobeš in. This is ridiculous. Stu Cowan, I think it's pretty safe to say we'll see Jakub Dobeš in goal for the Habs tomorrow night. And look, it's no surprise that Dobeš has been great well, it is a surprise. He's been so good. It's no surprise they're saying this about Dobeš. Look, I don't think Monty was as bad tonight as people are making it out to be. I think, yeah, he was beat clean twice. Well, also that point shot, I suppose, was pretty clean. And he was screened a lot on that. But he was beat by a Matthews one-timer and a breakaway or a 2-on-1 goal. The shots, it's not like he let in weak goals. Yeah, he got beat a couple times on goals that maybe Dobeš hasn't let in. But all the same, Jesse, are you in agreement that, look, we're pushing for a playoff spot at this point, especially if Dobeš has a strong game against the Rangers tomorrow? Is he the guy to go out for the next game after the game against the Rangers? Because I'm all for riding the hot hand, and with Montreal so close to a wild card spot, I'm starting to feel like just ride whoever's playing the best.
I'm okay with riding the hot hand after Dobech has kind of proven himself kind of a little bit here. And again, I don't think that that's anything against Monty. I don't think
No.
it's because of this game tonight that if Dobech wins, the next night. But I think it's like after you win a couple, you kind of get that respect in the league of, okay, this isn't just a kind of a flash in the pan. And if you are winning, just, whether it's Monty or Dobech, that you're kind of riding at this point in time. But like, we know the numbers that Jakub Dobech has been putting up. It's a very small sample size, all the same, but the technique is there. And the confidence just speaks volumes, right? If we're looking for indicators of maybe him continuing this success here, right? So Monty started the game off strong, looking good. Obviously, Don Sweeney is still looking very good for having selected him to Team Canada. That's looking like a genius move right now of putting him on this team. He didn't have the best outing, but we're not forgetting that he's been playing some pretty good hockey of late as well. But for sure, if Jakub Dobech, like just regardless of what Montembeault's doing, if Jakub Dobech continues playing well, he's going to get himself in that conversation for a lot of starts, which is obviously amazing to see and just that much better for this team.
Yeah, like it's a great situation to be in to have a goalie challenge your number one starter in terms of how good they are, right? And again, no matter whether it's Monty or Dobech, like if Monty had put up these stats over his last 4 games, we'd all be saying, let's go Monty. But look, it is the case right now that Jakub Dobech has looked better since he's been called up. There's no doubt about that in my mind. He's looked amazing. So right now, that's kind of the big hot debate in Habsland. Like, when do you give him the reins? I think you need a bigger sample size. We're talking probably 8, 9, 10 games before I'm comfortable saying, like, for now, Dobech is the de facto starter, because I'm not even ready to say that yet. I think Monty is still the de facto starter, but right now, fully expect Jakub Dobech to be getting more times where he's in net for 2 games in a row. I think that's something we're going to start to see just to test him, because eventually he's due for a bad game. Eventually something's going to happen. Teams are going to study him a bit more. He might let in 5 goals in the game. Fully expect he's a rookie goalie. If that doesn't happen, I'd be shocked, but you really never know. There's a lot of talk about this topic, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. You guys have been amazing recently. It's unbelievable support, and we just want to thank you guys very, very much. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.